So if I had to guess, I would say the biggest source of stress for people thinking about divorce or at the very beginning is, can I afford to stay in my house? Should I sell my house? Should I rent? Should I buy a smaller place? Do I even want to stay here? Is it too upsetting for me to stay here? Is it my one source of like, I feel like it's grounding me? The house is a big deal in divorce. And today, that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about selling your house, how to come to that decision, what you need to do if you think you might want to sell your house, and more of a step-by-step guide when it comes to real estate. My guest is Shannon Lindstrom. Shannon is a realtor and a certified divorce real estate agent, a CDRE for Remax Results. Hi, Shannon.
Hello.
So nice to have you here. Thank you for taking the time to do this.
Well, thank you. I'm looking forward to this.
All right. So before the podcast, I want to tell my listeners, I asked Shannon, I said, don't you get calls from people saying, hey, I might want to sell my house. Can we talk? Why do they say might? What is going through their mind?
Well, they're going through a divorce, so divorce is stressful. So the thought of now what? We got another thing to worry about. We got the house. And when you look at either selling or retaining the house, you have to look at your financial picture. That's number one important. And if you have children, um, can you afford the house? Can you maintain the house? And that's where co-ownership comes in. Um, co-ownership basically means that both parties jointly own the property for a specific length of time. And I've had some people where they put it in their court order that both parties were going to retain on title and that the wife was going to stay in the house with the kids until the kids turn 18. And then at that time, they're going to reevaluate and put the house on the market and split the proceeds. Minnesota,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, Shannon, I'm just going to interrupt you because I want to ask you a question.
Sure.
Is this the kind of thing that certified divorce real estate agents are trained to do? Have these conversations with people and help you figure out if selling your home is the best option or if you can stay? Because I thought that a mortgage lender could help you, but what you're telling me
Yeah,
is,
a mortgage lender can help also, but I'm just saying they have to make their decision.
mhm.
And that is a legal question out there. They need to meet with their attorney. I'm here to assist and support. I'm here to help them going, okay, maybe we need to sell the house. Or if you need references, um, I have a whole list of references. Um, and that's really important. The whole
So in
thing
other
is
words, you ask them a bunch of questions, you listen to their
exactly, I have an
story,
intake.
and then you help them determine whether selling the house, you help them come to that conclusion on their own.
Exactly. Exactly. They have to, what I do is I initially, get information from both attorneys if they've already filed. And I meet with the parties separately. We can meet in person or via Zoom. And then I usually meet with the in-spouse with the intake. And I'm there for about 20 minutes. I go there, we go through, you know, if there's any shortcomings with the house, I take pictures of them. And then the next appointment is with the outspouse. And then I present, like this house needs repairs. This could be an issue if you want the higher amount listing price.
So what you're doing is you're listening to
I'm
them.
evaluating the
Yeah, and
property.
then you're giving them all these options. Okay,
Right.
Now, I want to tell my listeners that Shannon wrote this article for Divorced Girl Smiling. You can find it at divorcedgirlsmiling.com, called Divorce in Real Estate, a Step-by-Step Guide. And Shannon, I wanted to just start at the beginning for people. So in the beginning of the article, you talk about like people don't even know where to start. And so where do
Exactly.
you start? You say gather essential documents. So tell me about that.
Basically, when I meet with people, it's really important that these specific documents, are, are provided. And also it's really critical for property valuation, the legal proceedings and financial planning. So first, you're going to need a copy of the property deed, which is proof of ownership, and then a mortgage payoff. Mortgage payoff is different from a mortgage statement. A mortgage payment, or excuse me, a mortgage statement is basically what you get monthly online, but that does not outline the final payoff. I tell people to contact their mortgage company and they will email or send them a mortgage payoff. That is really
All right.
important.
Now, I want to stop you here for a second because you're right. Because I want to tell my listeners every month you get a mortgage statement and it shows you how much you owe. So you
Right.
could say, oh, well, I only owe another 75,000 or whatever. But that's not true because that's different. Shannon, tell me if I'm right. Then I forget what they call it. It's like a net sheet where you would know what the payoff is because there's all these other
Exactly.
expenses. So it's going to be more than what your statement says. Is that why you say that you actually need the payoff thing versus the statement?
Right, because to pay off the loan, the lender usually has it depends on when you close. If you close at the end of the month, you have accrued interest. So
Mhm.
that will be on the payoff. So that's really important to have, especially for the property division. Um, and then it also helps me because I usually do a nat sheet with people. I
Mhm.
said, this is an estimate. So if you receive this price, these are all your closing costs. And this is how much your mortgage payoff is for this specific time period. And then this is the bottom line.
Mhm.
At the end, you'll get your bottom line. But
All
it's an
right. Now,
estimate.
other essential documents that people need are property tax records.
Yes. And the home insurance policy, that is really important.
Okay, I was wondering why that's important.
Well, it's really important, especially when we've had storms and all types of things going on with these houses. It's really important to make sure the home insurance policy is in place. Um, it also prevents coverage gaps and potential disputes down the road. But it's really, really, really important to make sure those premiums are being met and they're paid. Because what if you have a buyer come in and they had a private home inspection and they noticed the roof has hail damage, but they speculated. So it's really important that you contact your insurance company and to have it inspected because the buyer may not, take on that responsibility down the road.
Mhm.
So that is very crucial. Also, it's important to have renovation receipts. Those are repairs made to the property during the whole time that you've resided. Because that also helps with the property evaluation. If you've updated your kitchen or bathrooms, that actually helps the value. And it brings more buyers in because some people want turnkeys. And in divorce, sometimes, things happen. You get stressed out and you can't clean your house, or you don't know what to do with your soon to be ex-spouse's personal things that are sitting in the corner. That this all affects value also. But it also assists with the legal proceedings. The attorneys, either the mediator or a family law attorney, will also want a copy of these.
You're listening to the Divorced Girl Smiling podcast. My name is Jackie Pilosoff, and I'm your host. And today I am here with realtor Shannon Lindstrom. She's a CDRE, a certified divorce real estate agent for REMAX Results. And we are talking about divorce in real estate, a step by step guide, a great conversation for people thinking about divorce or at the beginning and thinking, should I sell my house? What's involved? What do I do? We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk about some of the professionals you may want to consult with to get more answers about your house, and then how to determine property value, what to think about when it comes to property division, the mortgage, and planning for the future. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Divorced Girl Smiling podcast. My name is Jackie Pilosoff, and I'm your host. Are you thinking about selling your house, but not even sure where to begin, what you want to do, how to do it, how to get information? That's what we're talking about today. My guest is Shannon Lindstrom, realtor and certified divorce real estate agent, CDRE, for REMAX Results in Minneapolis and St. Paul. And Shannon has been a real estate agent for 20 years. She specializes in people going through a divorce and really holds their hand through the process. I love it. So, Shannon, let's move on to, other than you, which you can definitely give people a lot of advice when it comes to their home. Who else do they need to consult with when they're thinking about questions with their home?
Well, if they haven't hired a divorce attorney, that is really important, or a mediator. A mediator is the third party who assists divorcing couples in resolving issues amicably, avoiding, and is basically you're outside of court, you're settling.
Mhm.
Um, Also, like myself, a certified divorce real estate expert, which is an experienced realtor who specializes in real estate matters in divorce cases. And a financial advisor is also important too. They can assist with the individuals managing their financial complexities associated with divorce. They can also help you plan for your future post-divorce.
Okay, now, Shannon, another thing I love about you, well, you, but also all CDREs, certified divorce real estate experts, is that you can refer people to other
Exactly.
professionals. So let me tell my listeners a little bit about the difference between working with a CDRE and just an agent. Not that agents aren't good, but if you work with a certified divorce real estate professional or certified divorce real estate expert, CDRE, you get the benefit of this certification that Shannon spent, what was it, like a year to study for it and get the certification, and it doesn't cost you anymore. That's the thing. It's not like you charge an increased rate because you're a CDRE. So that's really nice. And they get the benefit of your expertise, but they also, you get the benefit of your connections in the divorce industry to connect them maybe with a divorce attorney or a mediator, a financial advisor, certified divorce mortgage lender. So that's another total benefit of working with Shannon. All right, let's move on to property value. So what if somebody, Shannon, let's be honest, people are like Googling Zillow, what's my house worth? Oh, here's a Zestimate. Why is that not even accurate?
Not even close. I usually provide both parties a competitive market analysis, or I also provide a realist report. And what they do is it's basically a resource for them, and it shows active pendings and sold in within a mile of their location. And then I usually average out the CMA and the realist report. However, you got to take in the condition of the home. If there's issues in the home, you have to make a decision. Am I going to sell the property as is, or should I make repairs? And that can factor in the pricing. So that's really important. Or if you have a unique property, hiring an appraiser is probably a really good option. Because sometimes I've had some people where the neighborhood or within a mile of the location, there's been no solds in the last year. And then I'm have to go back 2 years and reassess. And when you have unique properties, you may want to hire a qualified appraiser.
You
Um,
mean because the comps, they call them
they
comps,
don't
are not
support it.
they're not accurate anymore because they're so old.
Yeah, or if the property is unique.
Mhm.
Um, for example, if you're in a suburbia location and you got the cookie cutter, 2 stories and 1 stories, and then all of a sudden you have this modern house with all the bells and whistles, and there is com no comparables to match
Right,
that house.
right.
And sometimes I have to do cost per value when I assess it. And in that case, sometimes I refer people to get an appraisal.
Okay, I want to move on to property division. So, in
Mhm.
your experience working with dozens of people going through a divorce, how do you come up with who's going to keep the house? The options are you either sell it and neither one keeps it, or one buys the other person out, or co-ownership. So, how do you make those decisions and how do people, what if they say, like, I don't really know what to do?
That is a question they need to talk to their attorney or mediator. And it's also a financial and personal decision they have to make. Can they afford the mortgage? Um, can they afford the repairs and upkeep? Um, are they looking to part ways and get a clean slate? It all depends on the situation.
Mhm.
If they have children and the children in school and they don't want to move the children out of the house. Um, but all these factors in, you have to talk to your attorney or mediator. This is really important. Um, I stay arm's length when it comes to that, because I am a neutral. I work for both parties. I'm
Mhm.
here to either sell their house or, down the road. I mean, I do have resources.
Mhm. Okay, now don't you feel like when people ask me, when people come in for the Divorce Girl Smiling free consult, because I do a lot of these. And for
Right.
my listeners, if you go to Divorce Girl Smiling, you can see there's a place you can sign up and get a free consult where I will listen to you, listen to your story, and then make recommendations based on what you tell me. What I do is connect you with divorce professionals like Shannon who can help you. Okay. So what I tell people who ask me, like, I don't know if I want to stay in the house, I'm not sure. For me, as a person with, I'm not a divorce professional, I'm not financial, I'm not a realtor, but what I can tell you from someone who has gone through a divorce is you have to ask yourself two questions. One is, do I really want it? How do I feel emotionally about the home? That can include, do I want my kids to grow up here still? Do I want them to stay here? How do I feel? Do I feel connected and comfortable and safe in my house? And then the other question is, what's realistic? Can I afford this? Can I afford it, but I'm going to have to pay such a big mortgage that I'm not really going to have any extra money to do anything fun or, have a good quality of life because I'm going to be spending it all on this huge mortgage payment. So, what do you really want? And what is really realistic? And I think you don't have to decide in the first 2 weeks of the divorce, right?
Nope. But you have to dictate what the court order states. If the judge comes in and says, you know what, they haven't resolve their issues, and the house needs to be listed. And that's where a realtor can be listed, or a certified divorce real estate expert can be listed. But your options is you can sit down with a mortgage professional and find out if you can refinance the home. Which involves the spouse who retains the home, refinancing the home, and removing the other spouse from the title. That is an option, or you can assume the loan.
Mhm.
The issue is you have to meet the credit and the underwriting requirements. So you basically, if you have a mortgage right now, for example, 200,000, and you find out, well, I can afford the payment, but I don't like the interest rates currently. So I'd like to assume my soon-to-be ex-husband's mortgage because I'm not on the mortgage. So
Mhm.
you will have to meet the mortgage lender's credit worthiness, and it has to be, gone through underwriting and approved. Or you can you can sell and pay off the mortgage, and you both, you move on. This
Well,
is like a clear slate. You move on.
and right now, assuming the mortgage is such a huge deal
It
because mortgage
is.
rates are so high. So that's actually a great option for a lot of people. Okay, I want to close with a timeline overview. So this was part of the article that I really, really enjoyed because it
Mhm.
it makes a lot of sense. And I know for me, if I was newly separated, this would be helpful. So you say the first month you're just talking to divorce professionals and gathering your documents that we
Mm.
discussed. Second month is when you do like your property valuation and you kind of start discussing what are we doing here? Who's keeping the house if either one of us? Third month, finalize decisions, start
Mhm.
your legal process, possibly on the divorce, finalize like what you're going to do about the mortgage. And then fourth month, update your records, plan and execute the move, which probably includes like staging the house, cleaning the house, getting ready for it to sell, getting repairs done, and things like that. And you say that the timelines may vary. It's not like, oh, you have to do this in the first, second, third, and fourth month, but um it's a good guide to know when people should do things. So my last question to you is what advice do you have for somebody who says like I don't know, I've been at this for a while and we just can't figure out what we're doing with the house and it's been months.
Well, that is another question. I would pretty much talk to your attorney if you have issues. Um, it'd be different if you decided to put the house on the market and it sat on the market for a while. That's when I usually have a meeting with people and I say, okay, we need to evaluate what's going on with the property. But like I said before, you really have to talk to your attorney. You have to look at your finances, and you have to methodically think through this and figure out what your next step will be. Um, because you have two parties to this divorce. One
Mhm.
spouse may say, "Hey, I want clean slate. I want you to sell the house." So it's not just, it's also personal. If you choose to sell the house, it's also very good at letting go. You move on. But
But
that's,
Shannon, don't you also feel like it has to do with the market too? Like if
yeah,
it's
the
a
market
good seller's
changes.
market, you have to take that into consideration too. And that's something that
Right.
a real estate agent can help you with too, because you're in the trenches all day long. So you see how easy or difficult it is to sell things, right?
Oh, yes.
And so it's nice to hear those stories, and that might be what your deciding factor is.
Yes, it is. I mean, I've had a few people recently where the house is sat And, during this time, the kids are in school and you don't have as many buyers out there. But it's still a seller's market. However, you may not have somebody, that loves your house at the moment and it's sitting there. I usually tell people it's time to reevaluate. We need to look at your current price, and we need to look at, maybe we need to do some improvements. But if you can't afford to do improvements, that's a whole different ballgame. Then you may have to do a price reduction. Because
But
if you
don't
want
you
to move
feel like,
on, this is a good way to move on.
all right, and also let's just end on a positive note where I want to say, people who have owned homes for a while, myself included, they get to this point, they're like, I don't want to rent. I feel like renting is not always a bad thing. And sometimes
Right.
until you can figure out what you want to do, renting might be your best friend because then you're only in a place for a year or two, and then you have all the freedom to figure out where you want to live, what you want, what kind of house you want before you rush into anything. So that would be my advice. What's yours?
Excuse me. I totally agree. I do have some people that are just not ready. And financially, they don't want to have to worry about a mortgage, currently. And plus this gives them time to save their money for down payment, etc. So it just depends on the individual. If they want to buy or if they want to rent. Or they're tired of the upkeep of the home, so they go rent for the time being. But it just depends on the person.
And also, when you get divorced, there's a lot to figure out. Maybe
Right.
you don't want a big house anymore. Maybe you want an easy little townhome that's cute, that's
Or
everything is
condo.
taken care of for you. Your snow is shoveled, your yard is landscaped for you. And that doesn't happen overnight. So just really take the time to give yourself the flexibility if you're getting divorced. There's no, people, I love Shannon that you're supportive of this because I talk to real estate agents who will just say, oh, well, you're wasting money on rent. Well, so what if it's only for a year? That's not going to make a difference in your lifetime, or even a few years. And it might just take the pressure off you. And so that you don't have to make so many decisions. You're going through a lot of change and you don't want to lock yourself into a home where you weren't sure and you just settled because you didn't want to rent.
I have a lot of people that go into condos and townhouses too,
Mhm.
because they just don't want to have to worry about the yard. They have kids, or they just want to move on. I've had some people actually rent condos and townhouses, and then they ended up buying them.
Right.
Um, but you have to look at your options, and you have to follow your gut. That's what I tell people. Um, what does your gut instinct tell you? And that's also really good for your, mindset. You have to get out of that mindset. You got to let go and move on.
I
Uh,
know. And it's not easy, but it's doable. And talking to divorce professionals and getting as much knowledge will really help you come to those conclusions on your own. Shannon, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I really appreciate your taking the time to do this today.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed it.
And if you like what you heard and you want to talk to Shannon and you live in the Minneapolis, St. Paul area, go to mndivorcerealestateexpert.com. So MN for Minnesota, and you'll see Shannon's website. And you can also find Shannon in the trusted professionals section of Divorce Girl Smiling, along with so many other wonderful, vetted, trusted divorce professionals. You can also listen to more podcasts, read articles, download my mobile app, or sign up for my free consult. So thank you so much for listening, everybody. We'll talk to you real soon.